maybe, maybe I just opened the wrong way. Maybe I needed to open the other side. So we are going to share the most magical tale of... Okay. I know what it is. I forgot to cast my magic spell on it. So here we go. And a 1. And, oh, did you always wonder what we were saying when we were saying magic spells? Yeah, this is it. And a 1. And a 2. And... Ha! Now, we will tell the most magical, the most wonderful tale of There Is Nothing in This Book! I have spent years capturing all of your dreams and all of your memories to bring you this perfect fairy's tale, but it's gone. All of my writing, all of my work is... Wait a minute. I spent my life following your dreams, your memories, all of the things you wanted, which means anything I can't remember, you do, because it's your story. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to tell the most perfect fairy tale, but I need all of your help. I'm not going to remember everything. For everything that I forget, I'm going to need you to help me tell me what I forgot. Will you do that for me? Yeah. Wonderful. Then, ladies and gentlemen, this tale begins as all stories do. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful kingdom, and in the kingdom there was a
unicorn.
A unicorn. It was the tallest unicorn in the village, and it had, because that's why I was looking up. It was very tall, and that unicorn had a name, and its name was Gertrude. What was it? Gertrude Uni. Uni was her family name. Yeah. So Gertrude Uni, she had a whole family of Unis, and they all used to play in the fields together. Well, one day, Gertrude she found the most perfect hay, and she was eating her hay, and she kept eating, and she wasn't looking up, and she suddenly looked up to find herself in a starry sky. She didn't know how she had gotten there, but her feet had totally left the ground, which was unusual because unicorns don't have wings.
Some unicorns do.
But this unicorn did, you're right. She had suddenly grown wings. And she didn't know how this had happened, but she's flying in the night sky. Well, she flew with the wings back here, not this one, And she's flying through the night sky. But her entire family was left on the ground. And she couldn't find them. She started looking and searching. And everywhere she looked, it was so dark she couldn't find them. Well, after hours of flying around, because her wings were new, they were very exhausted. After a few hours, she decided she had to settle down somewhere for the rest of the night. So she landed in a forest. And that forest, it was a very special forest. It was known for having the most beautiful potatoes that you ever found. In fact, they hid their potatoes in a little field, and all night long those potatoes were guarded by the fiercest
Werewolf.
The fiercest werewolf. They only watched them once a month. But they were so scary that no one else got near them. They just knew. And that one month came up, those werewolves were hunting you if you had gone anywhere near the potatoes. They could smell it on your breath. Those potatoes had such a magical smell. Well, she landed, and it just happened to be a full moon. And she landed, and she looked at the werewolves. And she said, "Help! I'm so lost. I can't find my family." And the werewolves went, "Rah, potatoes, rah." They were very one-track-minded. So she wandered to the edge, and she just kept looking back at them very sadly. And she went to sleep. Well, the next morning, instead of a bunch of werewolves, she found a bunch of people sitting over by the potato field. They looked far less frightening than they did before. So she walked up to them, and she said, Could you help me? And the first person was he was a prince. He was a prince in disguise, because being a prince and being a werewolf, how are you going to find a wife? It's very awkward. It really is. The whole wedding day, am I gonna fall in love with you or am I gonna eat you? I don't know. It's very awkward. So, well, yeah, he had a big thing for potatoes. Not all women like potatoes. It's true. I love potatoes myself too. So, she walked up to the prince and she said, "I have lost my family. I have flown many, many miles and now I know not where they are. Can you help me?" And he said, "I think so." "What did they look like?" And she said, "Unicorns." Duh. Well, he said, I think as I galloped over here, I found a unicorn. I saw a bunch of unicorns, and they looked very sad. But now I am no longer in that form. I'm going to have to find another way to get back." So she said, "Well, would you climb on my back and I can fly you there?" And he says, "That sounds unusual, but sure, I'll try it." So he climbs up on her back and she flaps and she flaps and she tries to lift, but she wasn't used to the extra weight. He was not a skinny prince. He was a nice prince. He was not a skinny prince. So now she's not sure what to do. So she goes over to the next person that was there and she said, "I'm trying to fly, but I can't. Could you help me?" And the next person was a
Baker.
baker. He was a what?
Princess.
A baker princess. He actually baked cakes of princesses and for princesses. You should see the work he does with spun sugar. Really exceptional. It is. So he turned to the baker princess. She turned to the baker princess and she said, How can I possibly get up in the air?" And the baker said, "Well, it's easy. You can use my magic yeast. This magic yeast is what makes my princess's cakes so airy. If you eat some of this yeast, you will find the airiness floats inside of you and you can fly anywhere you want to go." So she takes some of the yeast and she eats it, and yeast is not very good when it's just yeast. She doesn't like it, but she knows she has to eat it. And she doesn't know how she can eat all of the yeast because she's got to eat a large chunk of yeast to make this happen. So she goes to the third person who happens to be a rat. And she says, "Mr. Rat, could you help me?" And he said, "Well, rat is a little bit of an insulting term these days. We prefer mice of a different size." And she said, "Okay, whatever you would like me to call you, I have just called you that. Can you help me?" And he says, "Why, certainly. Certainly, if you don't like the way something tastes, you can do what me and my other mice type of a different size friends like." So they would
Put it with cheese.
put it with cheese, exactly. So she took the yeast, and the rat handed her his favorite cheese because he had a little bit left over. And that was a were-rat, not a werewolf. How is it guarding that? Never mind. So he stuffed the cheese and he wraps it up and he hands it to the princess, and she and as she's eating the cheese, she's so happy, she starts to float. And she says, "Quick, your Royal Highness, please jump on my back." And he jumps on her back. And away she goes, flying over the village and over the next town. And until finally they flew over a windmill. Well, the prince was not looking where he was going, because he was thinking princely thoughts. They do that. And as he was flying over the windmill having these princely thoughts, his foot just kind of stuck out, and the windmill caught it and pulled them both back down to the ground. Well, now they've been stuck, and she's hurt her wing because she landed so hard falling with the prince. Well, now she has to walk, but she doesn't know where she is. So they look in the distance and they see a mountain that has a church on the top of it. And they say, "Well, we're going to have to climb." So they start to walk up the hill, all the way up the hill. It was high up. And they finally get to the top of the hill. And there, in the church, they see a bishop. And he was a very pious man. And the bishop turns to them, and before they can say anything, goes, "Oh, your Royal Highness, I did not realize that you were keeping such unusual company. He says, wait, you know who I am? He says, yes. You are the prince of this entire village, are you not? This kingdom. I said, well, yes, I am. We had very princely thoughts. Well, the unicorn says, well, then maybe you can help me because he flew from your kingdom all the way to where we were to find my family. He says, what, you mean the Unis? Well, yes, the Unis. Do you know the Unis? I know the Unis. But there's one problem. You see, you're from a very special world. It's not the same world that all of us live in. And when you flew so far away from your family that you have to now find a way back to the other world. She says, how do I do this? I don't know how to get to the other world. Where he says, if you close your eyes and you think beautiful thoughts of your family, then maybe you will find your way. So she does. She closes her eyes and she thinks beautiful, happy thoughts of her mommy Uni and her daddy Uni and her baby Unis and all the other Unis. And Gertrude opens her eyes and she's still there. And she says, what am I doing wrong? And he says, well, you thought happy thoughts? Yes. Well, did you, eat a donut first? I did not eat a donut first. Was I supposed to have a donut first? Yes, that's why we have this tray over here. There are so many types of donuts here. There's a sprinkles donut and a chocolate donut and a jelly donut and a banana donut. Was it
Rainbow donut.
and a rainbow and a custard? There are so many donuts. Pick the one you want. There were so many choices. So she lifted her paw. Puff. And then she walked up and she lifted her hoof. And she closed her eyes. And she said, which donut is the right donut? There's only one. I need a consensus. What was the right donut? The Tutti Frutti Rainbow Sprinkle Donut. Because it was so colorful. Like her horn. Actually, her horn was made in all kinds of iridescent sparklies. And she picked up the Tutti Frutti Rainbow Sprinkle Donut. Yeah, you thought I was going to forget, didn't you? And she picks it up. And she takes a bite of it. And it tastes like pickles. It's like a strawberry pickle donut. And she said, why does it taste so unusual? She says, well, you're thinking the really happy thoughts? I guess they weren't happy enough. Let me think happier thoughts. And she thinks even happier thoughts, and it turns into a root beer donut. And she says, that's yummy. And she eats it all because it's so happy. And she loves all of the tastes of the donut. And she finishes it. And again, she starts to feel that floating sensation, like bubbles in a soda, because it was root beer. And she closes her eyes. And she feels all the tingles and all of the bubbles. And she thinks happy, happy thoughts. And she opens her eyes. And the bishop is gone. And the prince is gone. And she's standing in a place she doesn't know. She's standing in a
Best Buy.
a Best Buy. And she says, is there any customer service here? Come on, there's got to be somebody here. This is terrible. And she finally sees a man in a lovely blue shirt with yellow on it. She can't read what it says, but he says, hi, I'm here to help you. My name is Jonathan. Tonathan. It was Tonathan. It was a very unusual name. And she says, well, what's your name again? Tonathan. Don't worry, just call me Ton. Okay, Ton, why did I appear here when I had such happy thoughts? And he says, well, you appeared here because we give great customer service. She said, no, really, why am I here? And he said, well, you found the magic inside. Now you need to know how to share it. How to share it? Yes. To be as wonderful as you are and to have all of that joy, you have to find a way to share it. Well, how do I do that? She said, it's very simple. All you have to do is open your mouth and,
Wi-Fi.
and what?
Sing.
Wi-Fi?
Sing.
and sing. You sing, and your singing becomes this Wi-Fi antenna. Because it vibrates and it sends out this signal that starts reaching farther and farther and farther, and your family is going to pick up your signal, and they're going to find you. She says, well, that's wonderful, so I will stand outside and I will sing my favorite song of all.
O mio bambino caro.
O mio Smith.
O mio bambino caro.
I have a better chance of hers than yours, but I like that. All right, whoops, I did it again. She sang it twice. She sang, I know Caro mio ben, is that it?
Yeah.
Caro mio ben, credi me, senza te, and as she sings, people become happy everywhere, and the light starts to glow from her, and she starts to float again. And suddenly, she feels the root beer vibrations bringing her closer and closer and closer, until suddenly she sees the entire Uni family. And she floats to them and she says, Mommy Uni, Daddy Uni, I've missed you so much. I'm so glad to be home. And they said, well, we didn't know where you went, but we heard your song and we knew you'd always find your way home, because family and your love and the light inside you that makes you who you are will always bring us together. And that evening, they had a wonderful unicorn dinner of turkey. They're slightly carnivorous unicorns, don't ask. They had long teeth. And that night, they had their wonderful turkey dinner with all the fixings. And they sang, and they danced, and they all lived. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.